What's up with your grass, Chris?
Dunsky.
It's got some kind of COVID-19 growing in your front yard.
That's what happens when you let Dalton cut it.
This video is brought to you by Fireball, with a shout out to Nick O'Toole in Dublin, his wife Barb. Say hello, Barb.
Hey, Barb.
Hey, Barb. And his daughter actually watches, so cheers, buddy. His glasses are hot.
Just came out of the dishwasher.
Oh, okay. Got a little bit of time today before the sun goes down. I got my cylinders painted. Let's give a recap here. The Sea-Doo 720. I had these machined, bored out to 1 millimeter over. I have the WSM Platinum pistons this time, and I had the machine shop ceramic coat the tops. ODC machine. These are the Platinum WSM pistons. So what we're going to do today is I'm going to attempt try to get this motor, that didn't sound good, get this motor together. So I got all these painted and everything. And what we're going to do is we're going to check the squish band or squish gap, squish clearance. What is squish, Chris? No, we're not going to let him answer it. I figured some people need to know about this. Why do you check squish gap? Well, when you have, these cylinders did not come off of my motor. So these are different cylinders for a 720 that will fit, but I'm going to tell you why and what the squish clearance is and when you measure it and how you measure it. All right, so let me get, use this other piston here. This is called the piston crown, okay? The piston crown is, this one's been ceramic coated, but every piston is different, and the top of this piston as well as the cylinder heads that you have. I have the buckshot head over here. These are my domes. This is the inside of the dome here, okay? For you who have a stock two-stroke, and this applies to almost all two-strokes or internal combustion engines that use the squish principle, okay? You look at this head, this is a stock head, okay? This piston never touches that head, but it gets real close, about 1 millimeter or so away from touching. What happens is, this outer ring right here towards the edge has to be a certain tolerance per the Sea-Doo manual or two-stroke manual, whatever engine you're working on, to have the certain clearance between this edge here and the edge of the crown. And what happens is when you have different heads, let's say somebody milled this head, the squish is going to change. Let's say you put different cylinders like I did. These are from an XP going on my SP bottom end. I'm not sure what the tolerance is of the bottom, the surface and the deck height of this bottom here versus my bottom end and the head of the engine. So what you do, and this is an FYI if you didn't know this is my WSM gasket set, but I'm sure you've replaced a base gasket before if you've been rebuilding these engines, right? Don't we have one somewhere else? We have a gray one somewhere too, right here. Okay. So let's look at this for an example. You ever wondered what those 5 holes are punched there? Those 5 holes indicate, I think, 0.5 millimeter, okay? Or 5 thousandths, whatever, I forget. But that's 0.5 or 5. And then this one here has 5. But let's say your squish is too tight. You would need to get a larger gasket or stacked gaskets. Or let's say your squish is too big. The distance between the top of this piston crown and this head, you would get a smaller gasket, and that would have 4 or 3 holes in it. That's what those holes are for. If you thought they just did that for design, you're wrong. So what people do is they usually order the OEM stock gasket and then one bigger and one smaller, because you never know what's going to happen. So somebody could have messed with these right here. Somebody could have already took some surface off, and then these are going to be on my cylinders here, and the piston's going to be in there, and that thing might be real close, almost touching the squish gap. Now, why is the squish gap there? Why is it important? Because you want, when the piston comes up towards top dead center, it's taking all of that and focusing it into the top of the cylinder here, the dome. At the same time, it's making a turbulence to get this air-fuel mixture moving around so that you get an even burn and you get fuel-air mixture in there. The same reason when I had these cylinders ported by ODC Machine, he put all kinds of just rough edges in there. Why? You don't want it polished, you want it rough so that it atomizes the fuel going in. And once it goes into the combustion chamber, this is going to keep it burning and firing in the center. Why the hell would you have a explosion here, right? You ever seen on your piston where you got a hot spot? I don't know if I have any over here. Well, that one's trashed. Let's see. Like you could see sometimes you'll have a hot spot on certain edges of the piston or not in the center, and it's been burning there. That thing may have been detonating there the whole time. Maybe your squish was too tight. Maybe you had a lower octane, whatever. The fact is, you got to get that right. If your squish clearance, squish band, squish gap is too large over stock or tolerance, it's going to lose horsepower. If it's too tight, it's going to detonate. So you got to get it just right. So let me show you. I'm going to put this together. We'll come back to the camera and I'll show you how online, this is not pulled out of my ass, where and how you would measure the squish gap with this on your engine. Okay, the first thing you do before you work is you do a shot of Fireball. Right here, assembly lube. So this is what's going to be used to put together. You know, I put some in my crankshaft and the needle bearings, the rings, the cylinders, Klotz assembly lube right here. All right. Klotz assembly lube. This stuff is just, you know, you could use anything really. But why the hell not, man? Look, go like this. Take this bearing out, right? Look, some Klotz in there. All right, smooth it around. Get it all up in there. I got one clip in on this side. No, this side. I usually put the clips in on the inner of the piston like that first before I drop it in.
Like Michael Jackson with the one black glove.
See, then you just look at that. You just rub it all over. Get some Klotz. You want some Klotz? Here you go. Good. There you go. What you think, Chris? A wet
You're having
a wet finger in a dry hole is not a good thing, right? You don't want metal to metal contact. All right, you can do this two ways. Now, Bill O'Neill online. Bill O'Neill, if you don't know who that is, you can just stop the video now and go Google him, because the dude knows more about jet skis than he was playing with jet skis before I was swimming in my dad's spine. Okay, so what he says is what you do is you take a piece of solder. Okay, this is plumbing solder. Now you can use rosin core, electrical solder, whatever. It's very soft. Okay. And what you can do is you can put the head on. You don't have to bolt everything in. I only have 2 bolts on each side, not even torqued. Just got them on there. And I'm going to take this piece of solder and I'm going to lay it on the piston. Okay? Right here. No, you're not going to scratch the cylinder wall. I got it cut right here. This is what you're going to do. Now you can use modeling clay. A lot of people online, just Google this. If you think I'm an idiot, Google squish clearance solder. That's all you Google and you'll find it. I'm not the only idiot that pulls this out of my ass. So here's the solder right there. Now I'm going to put this head back on and Chris is just going to roll this motor over. And what's going to happen is this dome, it's on right here, it's going to smash that solder against that dome in the squish clearance, squish band. And then I'm going to take the head off. I'm going to use this mic. Now this is not a Harbor Freight. This is not a eBay mic. This is a real micrometer. Okay? I'm going to take the solder out and I'm going to measure it at the very end where it's smashed. I'm going to measure it and that's going to give me. Now, the other way of doing it is putting the head on and just taking this thing and snaking it in and doing that, you know, with the solder in and pull it out. The thing is, what you have to know is the wrist pin goes this way. Let me give you a visual demonstration. The wrist pin sits like that on the crankshaft, correct? Okay, so the wrist pin's there. You're going to want it here because you don't want to do it this way with the piston rocking back and forth. You know, 0.5 of a thousandth is going to make a big difference. So that's why you're measuring it like this, okay? You could you put the head on, snake the solder in there, keep the piston up so you don't get caught in the transfer port. Just roll it over to where it smashes it, pull the head off. You mic it. Let's do that now. How many shots you had, guy? What do you call this motor? What did you nickname this motor?
Barney.
Barney. Fucking Barney.
What the fuck did you just jump the circuit?
You don't like with purple and green, bro? That's buckshot. Here, let her eat. Take it off. We just rolled it over. Take it off. That's it. They're not. I haven't aligned the cylinders yet. I gotta put a manifold on them. Yeah, just don't even fucking stop it, guys. Just let her eat. Just let. Just fucking let her eat.
NHRA, bro.
Okay.
Hey, we got it.
What we got? We got a smash solder there.
Both ends too.
Okay, both ends. Now, the deal. Well, you should have known which, but it doesn't matter. Okay, so now we're gonna mic that. But the thing is, you should do it 2 or 3 times to get the lowest possible number. But let's go ahead and put that in the mic and see what the measurement is. Bill O'Neill says you want to go right towards the end because that's the most critical because it's got sort of a pitch on the squish band there, squish gap. And it's going to be, you know, with that kind of mic, man, you're really, let's see. Yeah, don't squish the ends. You can put that in the middle just to hold it. Let's see.
All right. Flat spot.
All right, so we got 0. What is that? 0.053. That's 5 thousandths, 53,000. What is that?
53 thousandths.
Okay. Now, looking at the spec on the phone, we're looking at 0.51 to 0.051, so 51 thousandths to 67 thousandths. 10, 100. Is that what that is? Anyway, 1.3 to 1.7 millimeter. Can you switch that to millimeter the way it is?
Or is that hundredths?
Well, either way, whatever it is, can you go to millimeter? Okay, so 1.32 millimeters, and the spec is 1.3 to 1.7. I am on the verge. Now, what we're going to do is I'm going to do this again. We're going to do it one more time to get an average. You want to do it 3 times.
Let me measure the other end.
Yeah, measure the other end. And fuck, Disco Tech here can't get a battery to fucking save our life. Yeah, so we're going to measure this again, and you want to do it a couple times to get the absolute minimum of the 3 average, you know, readings. We're going to do it again and just get an average of what it is. All right, putting Barney back together again. Now, what you're seeing is I'm only putting a couple bolts in. You know, I'm not torquing them, I'm getting them tight, but we're only putting a couple bolts in. We're going to do it again. The reason I'm not putting this in evenly is because there's a Healy coil on this one. I don't want to keep wrenching it in there. We got the solder in this side now, laying across. So I'm going to roll this thing over once, take it out. We're going to check it again, see what happens. Then I got to take this off and line up these jugs with the exhaust manifold so all these holes up here are straight. All right, let's take these off. We're doing the rear cylinder now.
Ooh.
Yeah. See, and I cut that just a tad bit shorter so it wasn't even touching the fucking...
Well, you can see the nice little...
Yeah, so let me see.
Flattened.
Right, exactly. All right, put that in the mic. Let's see what we got. It's hard with that point on that mic there to get that. All right, 1.4, 1.38. And what is that in thousands or inches? That's millimeters. That's right on the bottom. That's 1.3 is spec. So 0.054. Check the other side. How much does that mic cost, Chris?
Oh, I don't...
That's a good one though. That ain't no Harbor Freight shit. Cause that's why I didn't bring mine over, because mine would. You got to be real accurate on this, man.
Yeah, you got to make sure that needle. You got to make sure that backside is flush.
Yeah. Well, see now, and it depends on the size of the solder. I'm not sure the size of the solder I'm using here. That size of that solder is from the plumbing section of Home Depot, and I'm not sure. You know, 1.2.
Yeah, I don't know.
That was 1.2. It was close. I was just under,
But see how it's curved, so it's hard for this back piece to.
Yeah.
Sit real flush.
1.39. That's pretty even. Yeah. We're right at the bottom. I'll say we're in tolerance. What do you think, Chris?
Yeah.
Barney's ready to go together, bro.
Let me see.
So the diameter of the solder is what?
Let me get a... It's hard to get you. 1/16 of an inch.
16th inch solder. And you know, you could,
1.74
they
millimeter.
say solder on the forums and all that. You can use modeling clay. The problem with modeling clay is, man, if you get that out, you can't touch that in your hands, because the second you go touching that, taking it out, you're gonna modify, you know, the thickness. So the solder is stiff, but yeah, it's soft. I mean, that stuff is very soft.
Definitely works, man.
That's and we got to do Chris's. We got to check Chris's because he may be missing a little bit of power. You know, this goes to the way the head was milled, the base of the gasket. You know, the base gasket, the base of these jugs. I want to make sure it's right, and that's where, you know, if you're taking it off to do a top end rebuild and you're not modifying anything, you should be good. But if you're putting pieces of a motor together like I just did, with an aftermarket head, different cylinders, you want to make sure that you got the right squish gap.
It was like butter.
Hey, doesn't it move like butter? Tell Nick.
Yeah, bro.
Nick, he's coming for you, bro.
Look at that, dude. We got no more slop.
No more slop. New what kind of pistons are in there, Chris?
WSM.
What kind of crank is in there, Chris?
WSM.
Now, what's on your wall right here, Chris?
WSM.
Ah, Nick Almondo, we're coming from you. Coming for you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, again, for the people I've never seen the videos before, I have a different exhaust, a different manifold. Before I loosen these now, before you put these head bolts in and torque them, what you want to do is you loosen these up and you get a manifold on them with a couple bolts in each cylinder. That's going to pull these cylinders lined up with a manifold. That's like an easy way of doing it. So he's just getting a couple in there. They don't have to be torqued. That's it. Now, that just pulled these straight and lined up, because what happens is, again, if you go tightening these on and then you go to throw this manifold on, you're going to find that some of these bolts are walkie-jawed in there. They're not going in all the way even.
Strip tight.
Strip tight's better than Loctite. That's right. So now that I got that on there, that's just to keep these straight. I'm going to run all 8 of these in, torque them, take this off. This can come off then, because that'll be torqued. We'll put the cylinders, the top end together. All right, so got her all torqued down. We put some bonding agent on the heads of the screws that hold the head in, so I don't get salt water in the threads. That's going to be the last time you see them ceramic coated pistons, baby. Look at that. Nick Marquez. Hashtag Nick. These are ported cylinders. But look at the ceramic coat. Chris is shining those up nicely. Buckshot head. Hashtag Almondo. That's where I bought that buckshot head from. I did do some sandblasting, but yeah, she's good. There we go. See, and I marked them. See, 0 and 1, so I knew which ones were matched with which cylinders when he bored them. Hashtag Lewis, what is it? Lewis Martinez Corona. Say hi to Lewis, Chris.
How you doing, bud?
Hey, tell him what you think about that 587. He jumped that wave.
Yeah, man, it was pretty sick.
He's like, did you see Lewis out there with the fucking 587? I'm like,
He caught some mad air.
we're gonna be out there jumping with Lewis, bro. I'd like to remind you that I'm using WSM gaskets. This motor, Chris, do you realize this entire motor is a WSM? So I have a WSM. Well, look, I haven't even sent the old one back yet. I get my core charge back. I got the old WSM crank. So, or the new WSM crank. So
Crank pistons.
Crank pistons, gaskets. Fucking what? I mean, I got to sandblast my Ocean Pros here and all that. A complete WSM heartbeat of the SP. And what do you call this motor?
Barney.
Barney. Should I hashtag Barney? Parting words, Chris.
It's almost done. It's almost done.
So, there's the Barney machine. Chris nicknamed it Barney. You know, at some point, I mean, everything was I didn't really get to sandblast on the inside of it. I painted it, whatever. I had a couple bolts to drill out right here, so I can mount this, clean up the overspray. But flywheel's on. Barney machine is there. I gotta put the bed pan on it. I'm gonna degrease that and paint it, whatever. But then when I get it in the, I got the rest of the gaskets over here. I got the green wire loom over there.
Pulse plate.
Oh yeah, I got the West Coast pulse plate to put on there. I got the jets to put in the carbs. The carbs are mounted on a West Coast. I already rebuilt these West Coast racing manifold. I got put new jets in the carbs and going up to like 150, 125 on the Super BN 44s there. But that's pretty much it, man. The motor's almost together. Got some time tonight. How you feel about it, Chris?
About time we did something.
We had time.
COVID virus.
COVID-19.
I guess it enables us to work on jets.
That's it. We can do nothing more than work on jets. He's got the TDR here. That's going in. Got our bottle of Fireball. We got Klotz Bean All. We got a shit ton of parts down here. I got a new hose to put on. What else, Chris? Just moving right along, man.
So about the motor swap we're doing.
The motor swap, so the 657 from Green Machine is going in this XP here. This is Ryan's old XP. We're going to drop the 657. It's only got about 3 hours on it. As we fire it up every day Chris comes over. Just fire it up.
We're only doing that to speed up the process so we can actually get out there.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you know, his wife's going to be riding this or someone else that comes with us, so we're not looking for crazy. It's just going to be stock. This thing will still do quite a bit of jumping. Hell, if Lewis can jump on a 587 SP, what could someone do on this 657 XP?
Right.
That's right. So, yeah, it'll be good. And then this motor here, this is the 720 that came out of that. Now we put new pistons and stuff, but the cylinders, when me and Ryan did it, the cylinders were, I think, egg-shaped. They were at a round. That's why the compression was low. So what we're going to do is I'm going to take this 720 with a factory pipe from Almondo that I'm buying. And I'm going to put that in Michelle's Purple Power. It's going to have a 720 in that 3-seater. There's my pump there. I'm going to take that apart soon. There's the prop there. Prop was coming out. I guess I got to rebuild the pump again. That's a Solas 1724. I got to work on that pump and get that right. So that's the progress there, though. We got the engine together. Man, she's tight. She's solid. I got a WSM starter, as if it wasn't WSM all the way through, Chris. We got a WSM starter, and the reason I got that, where is my starter? Where's the one I took off this thing? It's right here. So we're going to show you the difference between the Amazon Chinese starter, which is right there. I was told not to do it. I bought the $38 starter on Amazon. It lasted 20 hours. The thing would barely turn over. So WSM has their own starters they make and rebuild and bake on the paint. And I mean, they're good. So we'll show you the differences between those two. And that way, because I'm not going to put all this back together and have some piece of shit Amazon starter on here that can't turn the damn thing over. That's it, guys. Until next time when I get some time, I'm hoping to get this thing done. And now I want to just run this thing in the driveway until I get the rest of it done. I got sponsons to put. Are the sponsons here?
Yeah, they're at your house.
Sponsons are at my house, so that's going to be something we do on my ski. Just take those sponsons off. It's going to be a bitch. We'll get it.
Stand by for fire up.
Stand by for fire up. Thanks for watching, everybody. There's your update.